Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 5 replays on the Eastern Alliance Mid-Era 3 Tech Tree Heavy Tank, the T-80U. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the T-80U, it is the Mid-Era 3 Heavy Tank for the new Soviet Heavy Tank line that's just come out. And what's it like? Well, in terms of its statistics, it's ever so slightly better than the T-80BV before it, but the one thing that's nice about this vehicle is the fact that the armour on it actually works quite well. Does it work all the time? No, of course it doesn't. If it did work all the time, it'd be Malo-esque, right? And we don't really want that. But it does bounce you a hell of a lot. You're a very mobile tank. The gun handling is sometimes fantastic, sometimes extremely troll. Yes, that is RNG, but it can be really frustrating sometimes, and then sometimes it can be an absolute dream. To be honest, grinding through this vehicle, I really did enjoy playing through it. It was quite a fun tank to play, and it could stand up on its own very, very well. And to be honest, I think you'll probably enjoy grinding through it to get to the Object 640. It's definitely a breath of fresh air compared to playing the tank directly before it, which the T-80BV was just not very enjoyable at all. So, this tank, while stock, which you're seeing here, the first replay in this vehicle is completely stock. And we have 77 km/h top speed, with a 28 km/h reverse speed, with a 23 horsepower per ton ratio, which means, just like the BV, you're an exceptionally nippy vehicle. You do get to your top speed very, very easily. It really does help you zip about the battlefield and keep up with the fight that goes on in Era 3, because Era 3 can be pretty damn fast-paced at times. So if you're in a tank that's fairly slow, sometimes it's quite difficult to actually keep up with what's going off. This tank does not struggle with that. The top speed, the power to weight, etc. really helps it keep up with the battle, and then use the pretty good DPM that this tank actually has. So, you've got a good power to weight, you've got a good top speed, you've got 45 degrees a second hull rotation speed with a 41 degree a second turret rotation speed, which means your turret rotation is slower than your tracks, so do bear that in mind, that the turret will struggle to keep up the track rotation at times, but it is still pretty nippy with how both turn. You've got a 5.91 second reload on this vehicle, which means you've got about 5.5k DPM with this stock gun, which is pretty good. It's pretty damn nice. You've got 0.24 accuracy on this stock gun, which is actually really good. You've got 0.54 accuracy during rotation, which is pretty damn good again. You've got 1.87 accuracy during movement, which for a tank in Era 3, quite a lot of them are going way lower than that, so that's not quite as nice. But it still means that the gun doesn't bloom out that much, and since you have a 1.93 second aim time, it does aim in pretty damn quickly. Those statistics are actually a little bit better than the previous tank in the BV, and again, that's what partially makes this gun feel nicer than the BV and feel like it performs just that little bit more consistently. Because that's the thing, if the gun performed a little bit more consistently on the BV, as a mobile platform for the gun, it might be a decent tank, but the fact is that gun on the BV is just so troll. It's really irritating. And let's say, it can be like that on this T-80U, and you're going to see that in one of the replays where it just goes, ha! No! I'm going to miss it all! And you go, well, why, gun? But why? And that it can do that sometimes, so it can be a bit frustrating. But on the whole, it's a little bit nicer on this vehicle. You do have 4.5 degrees of gun depression, though, which can be a little bit limiting at times, and also the elevation at 14 degrees is sometimes a bit of a struggle. Ever so slightly, sometimes. So bear in mind that your gun elevation is a bit of a struggle sometimes, but your gun depression is also not very nice at 4.5 degrees. You do have 1715 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APFSDS, which is pretty quick, which means you don't have to give quite as much lead at distance for targets that are on the move, which is quite good, again, for the vehicle. Very similar to the BV before it. You do have 558 penetration, again, similar to the BV. And you've got 697 penetration on the premium APFSDS as well, which means, again, if you fire the premium, you don't really ever struggle to pen anything in the Era, which is pretty good for yourself. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, pretty much the same as what I ran on the BV, because they're very, very similar tanks. And that is, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, Rapid Aim, Track Mechanic. And in terms of the equipment, the Advanced Loader, Gun Stabilizer, and the Traction System. Traction System to get me up to that 77 kilometers an hour while I'm stock. The Gun Stabilizer to make this gun as good as possible and make the accuracy during rotation and movement as low as possible. The Loader to get the best out of the DPM. All 3 gun perks to make sure that this gun, again, can sing, because one of the strengths of the vehicle is pushing out that pretty good DPM, and that's what you want to be able to do consistently. But if you don't set up with the gun perks and the gun stabilizer, this gun can be a bit of a troll, and it can be a little bit frustrating to use at times. So it's what you want to set up for. And then rapid aim and clutch braking to be able to make the track traverse as good as possible, and let's say the turret rotation speed as good as possible, so this tank feels exceptionally nippy. Again, because the track traverse is better than the turret rotation speed, and you are making the track traverse better with the traction system, you could quite happily run something like Deadeye, armor angling, or even something like fire prevention, because this tank does like to get set on fire a hell of a lot. It's a bit of a trait of the line. It gets set on fire all the time, and it's deeply frustrating like that, okay? So it's something you want to bear in mind if you want to run another perk. But you can see in that first game when we were stock, we finished with 4 kills, 7,900 damage. The first class for 1,505 base XP. A pretty nice game there for the T-80U on Thiepval Ridge while we were completely stock, which is always good. And we're on to the second replay, and this second replay we are again in the T-80U on Westfield. This time we are nearly upgraded. We've got everything on the tank except for the top gun, which means now this tank goes at 81 kilometers an hour with a 35 kilometer an hour reverse speed, 1,250 horsepower with a 27.15 horsepower per ton ratio, which means again you're an exceptionally nippy MBT because you're not a heavy tank. There's none of the classes in this era work for it. It's not a heavy tank, it's an MBT. You will hit 81 kilometers an hour very, very easily. Your reverse speed's great. You don't ever have to worry about the top speed. And you can see we're doing nearly 40 uphill. That's just because the power to weight is pretty damn nice on this T-80U. We've now got 3,850 hit points because we put the turret on it, which can be pretty handy for it. Again, to trade shots quite effectively. You can take a extra hit or two and then dish out the damage as well. You've also got up to 50 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed if you're running the clutch braking and the traction system, which again, it turns very, very quickly, which is nearly 7 degrees faster than your turret rotation, which is now 43 degrees a second. So again, it's one of those things that you might bear in mind that you decide to not run clutch braking just because it is making your tracks turn so much quicker than your turret, which can be a little bit awkward at times. So yeah, this second game is on Westfield. We are nearly upgraded, and we've come to the top end of the map here at B2. If we spawn on this southern side, this is where I like to go in Era 3, because I can go over here, get fighting on the ridge lines, get fighting on this little section here where I can't get a shot from the people that go to K0, and then we can move to the position at A4, where we can start shooting across at the people that camp across the bridge at F0, or the people that camp also at G0. You know, it means you can get extra shots off, and you can use the true vision. Plus, while you're fighting this section, like I say, you are covered from the people that do go to K0 or anywhere along the 0 or the K line, which means you're safe from crossfires. So you can see we've come to the position here at A4, and we've actually got easy shots at people like that Leclerc T4. So now we're just going to scan to see if we can see anyone camping across the bridge. There we go, we see it, we fire the shot, and the shot goes low and only does track damage to that. I think it's a Type 89 there that we're shooting at. Yes, it's a Type 89. We get another shot into his side as he's running away. He's tracked, I think, in the open there, and we actually finish him off. There's still something else firing from the back there, which looks like it's possibly a topol. So we try and get a shot into him as he's running away, but it sadly just misses. Switch to premium for the extra penetration over range, and that shot just misses as well. It drops too low. Probably should have aimed it a little bit better. We fire that one, and that one looked like it should have probably gone towards where the topol was, but unfortunately it misses. But there's now a Leopard 2, and it's like, hello, Mr. Leopard 2. We get a shot into his side, which actually I think tracked him. He does repair it. We just keep the shot lead in, and sadly we only do tracks only on that Leopard 2, and I think we've tracked him at a very awkward angle, which means we can't really pen that Leopard 2 at the angle he's at. Don't know why I'm still trying to take the shots at him, because we're never going to pen it, although realistically actually I'm trying to keep the tracks off of that tank so that if people who are in better positions to shoot him, they're going to feed me tracking assist, which we are getting, but we're not getting that much of it really. So we're going to try an angle to see if we can get a better shot at the Charlie 1, because the Challenger 1 will be in the open at B0, but we've got to be careful because there's still a lot of tanks left on the enemy team, so I don't want to give them too easy a shot at me. So we're moving into a position where we're covered from our right-hand side because of the buildings, but possibly getting a shot towards him. But I decided, okay, you know what? It's going to be too risky trying to get shots at that Charlie 1. And they are in our spawn. They're in our cap. I've got to get back there. We see the Thumper. And it's like, hello, Mr. Thumper. I'm just going to ignore you while I go back to try and reset my base. There's a Macabre in the base where we shoot at his lower plate. But at this angle, it's going to be pretty awkward shooting down. We fire at his lower plate again, firing standard. The 558 penetration is letting us down, so we switch to the 697 penetration. We get hit by an ATGM, which takes a lot of hit points off us. The Macabre and the other medium tank hit us again, and we're down to 1,500 hit points. The Thumper comes up and kills one of our friends, so I turn my attention to the Thumper because I'm just losing unnecessary hit points against those guys in our base. So we just play very aggressively against the Thumper, trying to get rid of him if we can. We're fairly lucky not to take a hit from across the way. We get a shot into his side, trying to avoid the shot of the Thumper, and unfortunately he does actually get a shot straight through the side of the vehicle, which puts us down to a one-shot for most of the well, for pretty much every tank in the game, which is not good for us, but there is still someone capping, so we're going to try and get hull down on this little ridge line here and see if we can shoot the people in the cap, see if we can spot them, and there we go. We end up finding a Thumper at the back behind the church and the Macabre friend that we had earlier on. So we look for the shot into the upper plate. Sadly, that was never going to hit. That was just an awkward shot we were trying to get with our 4.5 degrees of gun depression. We couldn't quite depress enough. We do put a shot through his lower plate and we get detected. That's because the Thumper's looking at us. We bounce a shot off our turret front from the Thumper, which is always good because the turret front on this tank can be pretty decent. And as you saw, we just bounced a very high penetration tank in the Thumper off our turret front. We go for the shot into the side of the Thumper, but unfortunately we only track it. The Magak 7C is out in the open. And oh, the Leopard KWS rams him, which means we actually hit the KWS. Aiming for the back end of the Magak to see if we can hit the engine, possibly set it on fire, but no bueno. We're up to 7.8k damage with 1,746 assistance, hoping the Thumper possibly drives out and gives us a free shot. We can just about see his lower plate and the tracks, which we track him in place. So I think maybe, okay, if I track the Thumper, maybe I can maneuver myself into a better position to shoot him. So we try and get that shot into him there, and that one misses. And that looked like we actually had the whole lower plate, but the shell still went to the left and missed it anyway. So we know where the Thumper is. There's the Leclerc T4 in the distance and a tow pole, and we actually have shots into the back of this T4, which we're going to take every day, just waiting for him to drive back into our gun line, because he's too preoccupied with the TD and the heavy tank that's directly in front of him. But now we've been shooting him in the rear, he's decided, okay, I've just got to go forward, which we try and shut him down, but we probably should have led it a little bit better there because we would have actually hit that. This time we do manage to shut him down, and there's only one tank left on the enemy team. It is the tow pole. It's like, hello, Mr. Tow pole. Don't mind if I do. Okay, first shot misses. Thank you. We've got one shot of APF SDS left, so we go for the shot into the side. I was trying to hit the engine deck so I could possibly set it on fire, but unfortunately the shot went high and hit the turret. It's like, thanks, gun. Really good of you. We've only got HE left, so I thought, oh, maybe I could splash the tow pole to death. And I'll kill it with the HE. But the shell looped over the top of the tow pole and missed. The gun in action. We finished the game with 2 kills, 9,074 damage. The first class, Eagle Eye for doing damage on tanks unspotted. 2.3k assistance with the 1495 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the T-80U on Westfield. And you saw at the end there, the gun just being a little bit troll. That, again, it's what it does. Sometimes it's a little bit troll. It can be a bit frustrating in that regard when it's like that. And you sit there going, you're a super accurate gun. Why are you doing this, right? So we're starting the third replay. This third replay, we're on Westfield again, but from the opposite spawn. We are fully upgraded now. We have the top gun, and the top gun has a 5.83 second reload with 5,654 DPM, which is exactly the same as the BV before it. We now have an accuracy of 0.23, which is fantastic. It's way more accurate than the stock gun was, and the gun is on the BV. We've got 1.56 accuracy during movement and 0.42 accuracy during rotation, which is pretty good. It means this gun, again, does not... your aim circle on this gun, like you're seeing at full chat, does not bloom out much at all, which is definitely very nice for the vehicle. You got 1.93 second aim time, which again means it aims in very, very quickly. You now have 606 penetration on your standard APF SDS, which is great, but not fantastic, it's just great. You've got 697 penetration on the premium APF SDS, which is fantastic, and will go through most tanks you're going to face, which is also good. Your shell velocity is 1700 meters a second on both shells, and you now have the ATGM for 750 pen, which does 1200 damage. Now, in a game like this on Westfield, what we should have done to start the game off was loaded the ATGM, because when you go to that position I was in at the start and catch people crossing, that is a good way to get an early 1200 damage and then switch to the main cannon. We're up to 1,089 damage so far in this game on Westfield with 2,270 assistance. Because again, if you go to that position I was playing on Westfield, you can take a lot of hits very early and lose a lot of hit points. But at the same time, if a lot of your team do go down the 0 line and the K line, you can also get a lot of assistance if you spot the people crossing up the K line from their spawn, and it will feed you a ton of spotting assist, and it's pretty handy in that regard. Also, by the way, your ATGMs on this vehicle do have a 100-meter arming distance, so if we were trying to fire the ATGMs at this close range against the Leopard 2 and stuff like that, we wouldn't actually be able to use them. So just bear that in mind with ATGMs. So yeah, this replay on Westfield is going to be about the gun. The gun is going to have moments in this replay where you go, do you really have .23 accuracy? Is that a thing? Okay, sure, buddy, sure. Right, we're up to 2.7k damage, and we've lost quite a lot of hit points because we're playing an awkward position for a tank with 4.5 degrees of gun depression. This is a very, very awkward angle for this vehicle. We've got 4,000 spotting because we are lighting up the Malo and the Chieftain. The Chieftain is a pretty easy pen, although we did bounce off his upper plate, but it is a very tight angle on the upper plate, so he can just ricochet. We've got to be careful of the Malo, because the Malo could just butcher our armor if we're not careful, and he is in a position that I can't do anything about unless I fire HE. But I can pen the Chieftain, so we're just going to keep going through the Chieftain. Then we notice the tow poles behind us YOLOing about. So we go for the shot into the lower plate, but sadly it ricochets. We do actually have his rear now, though, which we put a shot straight through, and he's been attacked by the MBT-70. So we see the K1, we see the MBT. The K1 pens us once, but they've got two people in the cap. We have to get back to reset the cap, otherwise we're going to lose. My team will have to deal with the people in the middle. So as we're coming across, we find the T-72BU, we find the Leclerc that's in the cap as well. So we go for the tracking. Well, we actually went for a pen in the lower plate, but it actually tracked him only, which is good because that actually resets the cap. We bounce off the lower plate there of the BU. We've got a shot into the side of the Leclerc, and that shot doesn't go anywhere, which is sad, but we have a free shot into him that time. The K1's come back for us. We can kill this K1 in one shot because we have 550 alpha, so we put the shot through the turret front of the K1 and finish him off. Now we can focus again on the people in the cap. We have a shot at the T-72BU. We had his whole upper plate and a bit of his side, and we hit the floor. Now got a shot at the whole lower plate of the T4, but that shot gets eaten by destructible cover. Now we have the shot into the lower plate of the T4, and we hit the floor again, and it's like, oh, come on, gun. That was pretty much the whole tank in the reticle. Again, most of the BU in the reticle, and it flies to the far left and misses. The T4 gets done by an ATGM. We have the whole BU turret front there in the reticle, and it flies above and misses. Now the Malo's coming after us. We try and track him in place, but it doesn't even take the tracks off, and we get shut down by the Malo. And you just saw the gun there. The gun just went, ha! No! I'm going to miss all the shots, and sadly, that is what happens sometimes with this gun. We finished again with a 5.7k damage and 6.6k assistance, because you can get a lot of assistance on Westfield if you play it right. And now we're on to the fourth replay. In the fourth replay, we're here on Dragon's Ridge, which is a map that is not particularly suited to the T-80U. Because we have 4.5 degrees gun depression, and this map is purely ridgelines everywhere, which can be very awkward for the T-80U. And you just got to be putting yourself in the right place to try and get damage, but it's very, very awkward on this map because of the amount of ridge lines. So I was thinking of going to the position at DE3 on the little ridge line where it's a bit flatter, and I'd be able to get shots across the HJK, but because most of my team are actually over here, there's no point in doing that because I would have been alone and, well, death would have came swiftly. So instead, we're going to try and maneuver ourselves into good position to get shots into people like this T4. And this Leclerc T4 is clearly going, I like you, I want to be your friend. And, well, he's doing what some tanks do when they're MBTs in Era 3, and that is where they just go, I'm going to charge, and it's clear that I'm going to charge, so I want to get you. Thankfully, he bounced, and we're going to use our pretty good DPM on this vehicle to try and keep the damage flowing against him. So we get the tracking shot into him there so he can't get away into the smoke. Our DPM is going to be there for the ability to shut this guy down, and there we go. Good night, Mr. Leclerc T4. We're up to 3.2k damage with 152 assistance. And we're going to maneuver ourselves up onto the position here, up on this ridgeline, because then we can try and get shots at the heavy tank that's just in front of us at G6. And also, we can try and shoot the people that might be camping along the K-line, because we actually have a TD over there, which should be able to spot them all, and that means we're able to get shots at them. This Object 640, which is our bigger brother, is out over there, and sadly, the 640 stopped at the exact moment we fired at him, which is sad. But we get a shot straight through his lower plate, and we're just going to keep farming the shots out at him if he's going to sit there. Unfortunately, we ricochet, though, and we are starting to get shot through the true vision by something that's over in the distance. We get a shot towards his side there, and sadly, if we'd led it and shot towards the back end of that guy, we'd have been okay, but it is what it is. Now we're going to move over and try and get some shots into the thumper. Now, this isn't the best of ideas, because, again, that guy can go hull down very, very easily against us, and also, well, he's got a big gun, he's got penetration, he won't struggle to pen us, and in this situation where, again, he's got better gun depression, it's going to be very easy to get shots at us. And he's got a high caliber gun, which means that when he pens us, he'll set us on fire, which is exactly what just happened. Now, I say this tank gets lit on fire all the time, just like the BV does. Be very, very careful of it. So the Thumper and the BMP are distracted with one of my teammates, so we're going to take advantage of that chaos and try our best to keep the damage flowing. But the VFM-1 is currently about to get himself shut down by that Thumper, who maybe I could get a shot into the back of his turret if I aim properly. Looking for the back of the turret. There we go. Actually damaged the ammo rack of that guy, but he's been closed down by, well, the VFM's been closed down by that Thumper, and now I can't actually get a shot at him. That Thumper can kill me in one shot, and in fact, we actually get shot by something else that hits us for nearly 700 from the back, which means we possibly are quite lucky that we actually didn't die there, because it could have killed us in one shot. But I don't want to stay in a position where that Thumper could just YOLO us, because he will kill us and we won't kill him in the one shot. So instead, what we're going to do is flank round, go up on top of this ridgeline here, and that way we can get up behind him. But as we come around, there's actually an MBT-80 who comes out of nowhere. It's like, hello, Mr. MBT-80, where did you come from? But yet again, I want to get in and help my TD who is running away from him. The MBT-80 is currently distracted, so we're just going to keep going. We get a lucky RBRT shot that tracks and pens the MBT-80. Whatever shot us earlier on for 700 is not really going to be able to shoot us because of this rock that's directly in front of me. And what we're going to do is keep the MBT-80 pinned in place with some tracking shots and make it as difficult as possible. But he is looking for a shot at us instead of the heavy tank in front of him, and unfortunately, he does end up finding the shot to shut us down. And we finish the game with the victory. The 1 kill, 8,002 assistance. 8,002 assistance? 8,002 damage with the third class and 130, or no, not even that, 712 assistance. Read the screen, man. Read the screen. A pretty nice game there for the T-80U. Actually, the last two games were fairly average games where it didn't go well, and it did go well for this tank, for me, generally. And that is because this tank has been, like I say, pretty fun to play. It's been a really enjoyable ride. As a grind, it's been fairly easy to do because the armor on it is usable. Is it impenetrable? No, absolutely not. But you can get quite a lot of ricochets off it, especially if you angle right and you catch shots correctly on the tank. Again, it will ricochet quite a few shots, which will be nice for you. The gun handling at times, like I say, can be pretty derpy and can be pretty frustrating, but for the most part, it's far more consistent than the previous tanks. The previous tank is always derpy, whereas this tank is sometimes RNG just decides to give you the middle finger, and it will miss a lot of shots, and sometimes it's perfect, and then you'll be able to put out that really nice 5.6k DPM and just keep the damage flowing. So we're on to the fourth and final replay. And this fourth and final replay, we are here on Fredvang. And on Fredvang, we've come to the middle position here at H4, because we might be able to get shots that do climb the hill along that D-line at like D6, D7. As you can see, the people that spot there, they're like the 292s. Also, we can try and put pressure at people that go to G1, and then we can loop around onto the hill at about E3 and also try and get shots at those guys. But you can see we're in a bit of an awkward situation where we keep getting spotted, keep getting detected from places, and I'm not really wanting to take hits at this early stage, especially in case that when we're detected and we don't really know what's truly looking at us, we don't want to cop an ATGM. Because one thing that does happen with this vehicle, same as the BV, is the fact that the ammo rack on this vehicle is dead center of the tank, and so if an ATGM does hit you in the center of the tank underneath the turret, your lid will most likely pop, so it's something you've got to be very, very careful of. So we've YOLO'd it into this Leclerc, because again, there's only two people here on this flank, and there's quite a few of our team, so we may as well try and push our team on. We may as well push in, put the pressure on these vehicles and get rid of them so that our team will move on. So we've got rid of the Leclerc, and now we've got another version of us directly in front of us. It's a T-80U. We get lucky that an ATGM misses us from somewhere, we ricochet off the lower plate of the T-80U, and while we're in the air, he ends up hitting us. So we actually put the shot through the lower plate. As you can see, the lower plate is the place to aim for on this T-80U, because you can go through it with 606 penetration, which a lot of tanks in Era 3 have. And this is where our gun elevation was letting us down a little bit with 14 degrees. We couldn't quite get the gun up to actually shoot that guy there. It's because we were engineering ourselves to be on a slight incline, which was just a bit awkward. So we go for the tracking shot, bit of 136 ms ping there. Just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and it lagged a bit, but we did get the shot into his side, and the T-80U ends up getting shut down. We snapped the shot at the MB-T-70 at the back, which we're not really going to struggle to pen too much. There's a T-72B who drives out in front of us and takes the shot. It's like, thank you, sir. I will take your kill every day, since that's XP. We're up to 3.7k damage, and what we're going to do is go chase this isolated MB-T-70, because he is all alone, and if we can get rid of this guy, that'd be great, because if someone is isolated and you have team, you may as well go get rid of them, because it's always best to go get rid of the isolated vehicles and then deal with the tanks that are all wolf-packed. We've also found a BMP-3, so you know what this means. Ramming speed! And we end up ramming him for quite a lot. We only lose about 200 hit points. And there goes Mr. BMP. We also got tracking on that as well, which is kind of handy. The MBT-70 is hidden behind this little hill. We're going to try and get in there and get the kill again. And sadly, we snapped the shot while on the move, which means we ended up missing. But our friend bounces, and we bounce off the back of the turret of the MBT, and the Leclerc T4 gets the kill. That was XP right there. What are we doing? How did we bounce that final shell there? But hey, oh, it is what it is. We rushed the first one, which meant we missed it. And the second one, how that bounced off the back of that turret, I don't know. But yeah, it is what it is. RNG is a cruel mistress at times. We're up to 6,051 damage, and we're going to go put pressure on what is the rest of the enemy team. 292 out in the open. We put a shot straight through his side, waiting for the reload. So again, we can do it once more. There we go. Put him down to a one-shot, even if he is using the med kit or the patch kit, sorry, to put his HP back up again. Even if he finishes that med kit or patch kit, he is going to be still a one-shot for everyone. Leopard 2's caught out in the open as well, because this is the way it goes sometimes for certain tanks. They're a bit slow to react. They end up getting caught out, and then the barbarian hordes approach. It's one thing you've always got to be keeping mindful of in Era 3, is what is happening to the enemy team and what is happening to your team. If you realise that you're by yourself and you see 3 or 4 tanks coming along, the barbarian horde is approaching, and you're best not to stick around, because otherwise what happens to that Leopard 2 happens to you, and you know, it's not a good time. So we're up to 8.1k damage with 1,893 assistance, and it's currently 6-4, so this game is actually a bit on a knife's edge. We're going very aggressively after the T4, and I realise my mistake. I go, oh boy, that's not a good idea. We get a shot into the back of the T4, and one of the other Leclercs gets a shot into us and sets us on fire. Once again, I hope you're seeing that this tank burns a lot, and it's a bit awkward. So we're going to see if we can get a shot into the T4 that's overexposed. We put the shot straight through his lower plate. There's also a 292, which has a big gun here. And we're just trying to get the gun depression, but 4.5 degrees of gun depression is exceptionally awkward, and we couldn't get the shot into him. The T4 is pretty hulled down there. He pens us with ease because he's got very high penetration. We ended up bouncing. Are going for the drive wheel. Sadly, the shot went high and hit the upper plate and ricocheted on that Leclerc T4, because the Leclerc T4's armor is pretty damn nice. But I decided, okay, my 3 heavy tanks are going to get that heavy tank. They are going to get that Leclerc quite easily. Let's go help our weasel friend against another weasel friend. And the dream is if we could ram it. Hello, Mr. Weasel. I want your hit points, my son. If I could track and ram you, that would be delightful. He's lost a bit of momentum because he's trying to dodge our weasel. We are going for the ram. Get the tracking shot. Ram! We end up taking off our tracks, though, which means we lose a load of momentum. We are slightly crushing him, and we finish him off with the final shell of the game. And we finish the game with a really nice total there for the T-80U. We finish with the victory. 3 kills, 11,479 damage, 1,893 assistance, the first class, with the 1,547 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the T-80U, which, to be honest, for a mid-era tank in Era 3, it was a pretty damn nice tank to play and a pretty damn nice tank to grind through. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
great success.